high side. Murphy shooting, save a rebound on the view.
Hey everyone, this is Casey. You are watching the Red Rubber Duck Win All Sports Network, and it's almost time for March Madness. It's just less than a month away, and honestly, I cannot wait for it. Now, on Saturday the 15th, the chairman of the 2024-2025 NCAA Tournament Selection Committee, Bubba Cunningham, the North Carolina athletic director, he revealed the top 16 teams going into the final 30 days before the full bracket gets unveiled on March 16th. Now, to be fair, there were no surprises. Basically, all 16 teams that were revealed were in the C line where they were projected to be at the time. However, almost a full week has gone by, and there are some slight changes. Now, there is a site called bracketmatrix.com that compares the brackets of over 100 different bracketologists to create an overall bracket picture. If you go to the site, the C lines are almost the same as the selection committees. However, the overall rankings have shifted just a little bit. But let's go ahead and go over the top seed line. The top seed overall, to no one's surprise, was Auburn, and they were unveiled to go into the South region. The Tigers are coming off of a win over number 2 Alabama in Tuscaloosa right after the top 16 got revealed. Johnny Broome is the main guy to watch out for as he averages a double-double in points and rebounds. Some key wins this season include Houston, Iowa State, Purdue, Tennessee, Ole Miss, and of course Alabama. And their only 2 losses on the year come from 2 of the teams that are in the same seed line as them. So don't be surprised if they remain on the number 1 seed line come March. Now, the second number 1 seed, according to the selection committee, was the Alabama Crimson Tide. Of course, they just had that loss to number 1 Auburn, but they wouldn't be dropping too far. But they recently just got upset by Missouri and Columbia, and they're coming off losses to Ole Miss, and their worst loss remains against Oregon, who is currently a number 8 seed according to the bracket matrix, but they already locked up their spot in the NCAA tournament, basically. Now, this is a loaded lineup, which keeps some of the talent from the Final Four team from last year with Mark Sears and Grant Nelson. And they do have quality wins over Houston, Texas A&M, and Kentucky. Now, Alabama should be teetering around that number 1 seed line all the way to Selection Sunday. Now, the third number 1 seed is apparently a swear word for the chairman of the committee, considering he is North Carolina's athletic director. If you haven't figured it out yet, it's Duke. Now, there has been one Blue Devil that has been all over the court, and that is Cooper Flagg. He leads the team in points, rebounds, assists, steals, and blocks. He leads all 5 categories if you look on ESPN. Their biggest win was against Auburn when they were the number 2 team in the country. And out of their 3 losses, they only have 1 unranked loss, and that was at Clemson. And they're currently the second best team in the ACC, and they already pretty much locked up their spot in the NCAA tournament at this point. Now, I would expect to see either Duke as one of the top 2 seeds overall, come March 16th. That's how good Duke is. And by the way, Alabama would be in the Midwest region, while Duke was placed in the East region. Now, the fourth number 1 seed revealed was a team that is on the rise, and their name is the Florida Gators. They boast a talented supporting cast in Walter Clayton Jr., Elijah Martin, Will Richard, and Alex Condon. Quality wins include taking down the number 1 team in the country on 2 occasions, beating Tennessee by 30, and of course, winning at Auburn. The worst of their 3 losses was at home against Missouri, but the Tigers are currently on a projected number 5 seed, and they recently just upset Alabama, so that loss should not sting as much as it would have. This team is going to continue to rise, and with 3 SEC teams on the top seed line, the SEC tournament is going to be must-watch television and probably going to be the hottest ticket in Knoxville. And it's quite possibly going to be the hottest ticket in Nashville. So I'm looking forward to that. As for the 2 seed line, the teams remain almost the same, but the position they are shifted a bit. The selection committee's first 2 seed and 5th seed overall was Tennessee. Now, according to the bracket matrix, the Volunteers sit at number 6 overall, but the ranking doesn't matter in terms of which regions they go to, except the first number 2 seed cannot be in the same region as the overall number 1. The Volunteers do have a solid lineup with Chaz Lanier, Zakai Ziegler, Igor Milicic Jr., and Felix Akpara. Now, they currently sit at 21-5 with their biggest win coming in the form of a 20-point win over Florida and Knoxville, and their worst loss coming from Vanderbilt, which is a current 11 seed and one of the last 4 in. And it also didn't help that they got swept against Kentucky. They will still be a team to watch in this tournament, and in the preview, they were in the same region as Duke. They're going to be playing in the East region. And the second number 2 seed and 5th team out of the SEC was the Aggies of Texas A&M. Currently, the Aggies sit at 7 overall, and the guys to watch out for include Wade Taylor IV, Zurich Phelps, and Solomon Washington. The Aggies sit at 20-5 with them getting stronger since their season opening loss to UCF, and their best win in that stretch was against Purdue. The Aggies were placed in the top left quadrant, aka the South region, with overall number 1 seed Auburn. And those two teams play each other on March 4th, so that's going to be a fun game to watch. Now, we mentioned Purdue earlier, and the Boilermakers were unveiled as the third number 2 seed in the bracket preview. Now, in the bracket matrix, they've been teetering between that number 2 and number 3 seed line, and currently they sit as a number 3 seed and number 10 overall. Some of the top guys include Trey Kaufman-Wren, Braden Smith, and Caleb First. Near the start of the season, they did get a win over Alabama, but they are currently in the middle of a 3-game skid at the time of this recording. In the preview, they were in the same region as Alabama, so you would have the only 2 reigning Final Four participants in this preview in the same region, but they've since been replaced by Wisconsin in that 2 seed line, and they could drop further if they don't get it together. And the final team in the 2 seed line is the Houston Cougars out of the Big 12. In the bracket matrix, they currently sit as the first number 2 seed, and they have a well-rounded roster led by LJ Cryer, Emmanuel Sharp, and Jawan Roberts. Now, they currently sit at 22-4 and 14-1 in the Big 12 Conference, and they are close to regaining that number 1 seed line. Their worst loss was against San Diego State, and they are currently projected as number 11 seed, but they're not one of the last 4 in. They did come out with quality wins, with their only conference loss coming from Texas Tech in overtime, and the selection committee had them in the same region as Florida, and that would be a fantastic matchup in the Elite Eight should we get it. With the SEC being a bloodbath, all Houston needs to do is to survive the last couple weeks, and they should be back in the number 1 seed line. Now, if you made it this far in the video, please feel free to like, comment, and subscribe. I'm going to be unveiling a bracket. I'm going to be unveiling my March Madness charity drive shortly. So that's going to be a whole lot of fun. And I'm planning on doing another watch party or play-by-play live stream coming up very soon. So stay tuned for that. Now, the 3 seed line is where we get some of the shifting when it comes to the bracket matrix. The first 3 seed unveiled by the committee was Iowa State. Now, the Cyclones were in the number 1 seed line for a good chunk of the season, but then they went on a 3-game skid, but they have since won 4 straight. Iowa State has a well-rounded roster containing Curtis Jones, Keshawn Gilbert, Joshua Jefferson, and Tamin Lipsey. That 3-game skid we talked about earlier involved Arizona and Kansas on the road, but it also included an embarrassing home loss to Kansas State. However, they did gain momentum back, and they have a huge showdown against Houston coming up on Saturday. And in the bracket preview, they were placed with Alabama and Purdue. Scoreboard operators in that region are going to have to get plenty of caffeine, because Alabama, Purdue, and Iowa State, they can produce a lot of points. Now, the second number 3 seed unveiled was Kentucky. The Wildcats are coming off of a loss at Texas, but wins over Florida, Texas A&M, and a sweep over Tennessee should be good enough to keep them afloat. The team is headlined by Otega Owe, Jackson Robinson, and Amari Williams, but a shoulder injury for Lamont Butler will prove to be an obstacle for Kentucky come postseason time. But Kentucky is still dangerous and will be a sleeper team in the upcoming SEC tournament. And Kentucky was placed in the same region as Florida and Houston, so I would expect some chaos in that region. Should this region remain the same, that's not going to be an easy region with one team left in that region left to unveil. Now, the third number 3 seed to be unveiled is now a number 2 seed according to the bracket matrix, and that is the Wisconsin Badgers. This is one of the hottest teams in the nation, winning 13 of their last 15 games, including a win against Purdue inside McKee Arena, one of the toughest places to play in the nation. The Badgers are led by John Tunney, Max Chesmit, and Nolan Winder up top. Now, the Badgers have an easy schedule heading into the Big Ten tournament, with their only ranked opponent left being Michigan State. The selection committee had them in a region with Auburn and Texas A&M, so the South region wouldn't be any easier either. And as I said earlier, they're now a number 2 seed in the bracket matrix with a potential to climb higher. Now, the fourth number 3 seed to be unveiled is Arizona, but they have since slipped down to the 4 seed line and they were replaced with Texas Tech. After a subpar non-conference performance, they got hot in Big 12 play, going 11-1, but they've lost back-to-back to Kansas State and Houston. The two guys up top, and Caleb Love and Jaden Bradley, have a lot to show if the Wildcats want to make a deep run. They have a tough region as they were placed in the East region along with Duke and Tennessee, and that's going to be very, very tough if this is on the selection show on March 16th. And throughout these next couple weeks, we will see some shifts in the 4 seed line with teams dropping in, dropping out, and sneaking in. And this week proved to be no different. The first number 4 seed to be revealed was a team that we mentioned earlier in Texas Tech. They have since moved up to the 3 seed line with a high quality win over Houston in overtime, but they might fall back after being upset by TCU. The Red Raiders have JT Toppin and Elijah Hawkins as their leaders on offense and defense. And Texas Tech was placed in the South region along with Auburn, Texas A&M, and Wisconsin. And that would make any upsets near impossible in this region until at least the Sweet 16. The second 4 seed unveiled was, and I hate to say the rival's name too, but I have more guts to say it, the Michigan Wolverines. The terrible trio in Vladislav Golden, Danny Wolf, and Trey Donaldson have been terrorizing the Big Ten, as well as whatever runs into their path. The selection committee has set up a dangerous region with Florida, Houston, Kentucky, and the Wolverines. The selection committee must love bloodbaths. The third number 4 seed is where we see our first dropout, and that is Kansas. The Jayhawks have since dropped down to the 5 seed line, and they were replaced with Michigan State in the bracket matrix. This is due in large part to a stretch where they have lost 6 of 11, including losses to Baylor, Kansas State, Utah, and BYU. They need to regroup with a roster containing Hunter Dickinson, Zeke Mayo, and DeJuan Harris Jr. The Jayhawks need to get their act together because they might just drop out of the top 25 entirely. They are still locked to make the tournament, but now they might not be set up for a deep run. They would be in the Midwest region with Alabama, Purdue, and Iowa State, but they would not make it out of this region with the way they have been playing. Now, the fourth number 4 seed and the final team to be unveiled in the bracket preview comes from the Big East. And shockingly, it's not the UConn Huskies. It's the St. John's Red Storm. And this is the surprise team in the conference with a 2-time defending national champions. But they currently sit at 14-2 in Big East play, including winning 12 of their last 13 games. The Red Storm look to keep the momentum going, and they have a chance with RJ Lewis Jr., Zuby Ejiofor, and Kaderi Richmond on this roster. They have another showdown against UConn coming up, and it would be huge if they could sweep the 2-time defending champions. In the bracket preview, they are in the terrifying East region with Duke, Tennessee, and Arizona. There are some heavy hitters, but St. John's has proven to hold their own. So that is the bracket with the top 16 as of February 15th. And a lot can change in 1 month flat. It'll be a fun tournament to cover, and I cannot wait as March is just around the corner. But that's going to do it for me. Please feel free to like, comment, and subscribe to the Red Rubber Duck Win All Sports Network. I look forward to seeing you guys when we do the March Madness charity drive for the third year in a row. I did shift the layout just a little bit, and I really hope you guys like it, as I think it will make covering the tournament a whole lot easier. But that's going to do it for me. Until we meet again, I will see you guys in the next one. Take care, y'all.